All right. Welcome in, everyone, to this audio companion. It's part of your Think with Google newsletter, the one for March 27th, 2025.
2025, yeah.
We're going to be kind of taking a deep dive into three of the really insightful articles from the latest German edition and how businesses are, really kind of putting Google's innovations to work for them.
Yeah, seeing it in practice, it's really interesting.
Yeah, and we've pulled out for you, if you want to get caught up quickly, but, really thoroughly, we've pulled out like the essential kind of insights and those,
To surprising facts and figures.
the aha moments, yeah, without like totally overwhelming you with info.
Yeah, exactly. Cut through the clutter.
So let's unpack kind of what's going on in the world of digital strategy. All from these sources you might have seen in the newsletter.
Yeah, it's really fascinating that you see these different companies across different sectors, but they're all kind of grappling with the same need to sort of, put these advanced technologies to work, like AI and cloud computing, and actually solve real business problems,
Yeah, absolutely. And first up, we're going to be looking at Sky Deutschland.
Okay.
And they're dealing with, a lot of us are, but the whole world of data privacy.
Right.
And how it's getting more and more complex.
Yeah, and how do you do that? How do you navigate that and still have effective marketing measurement when all of the old ways of tracking things are kind of falling apart?
Yeah, like all the cookies are?
Yeah, cookies are going away.
And what do you, yeah. And so their answer to that, they've got this kind of secret ingredient, which is Google AI through this technology called enhanced conversions. And I think what's really interesting here is, like, what is that exactly and why is it working so well for them?
Yeah, I think, like you said, the core challenge that Sky is facing, and a lot of companies are facing this, is that you need data to be effective in marketing,
Right.
but you also have to respect these, ever-tightening data privacy regulations.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you have all these changes in how browsers work
Right.
that are limiting, like, how you can track people.
Yeah.
So specifically, third-party cookies, they're going away. The lifespan of first-party cookies is shrinking.
Yeah.
So, it becomes very hard to connect the dots between what you do as a marketer and what actually happens.
Right. It's really hard to know if you're getting a return on your investment.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how does this thing, enhanced conversions, how does that help them kind of overcome these hurdles?
So it's actually a way to measure conversions more accurately, but in a privacy-focused way. And it does this using what's called hashed email addresses.
Okay.
So think of hashing. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's basically a one-way encryption process.
Okay. So you take an email address and you transform it into this unique string of characters.
Okay.
It becomes unreadable in its original form.
Okay.
But it still allows Google to match conversions, things like a purchase or sign up, back to the original ad click.
Okay.
But without actually, knowing the person's email address.
So it's protecting their privacy.
It's protecting their privacy, exactly. And it helps kind of bridge those data gaps without having to set up like a whole separate, customer data platform, which can be a real headache.
Right.
But what this really does, what's clever about it, is it allows Sky to see, okay, which of our ads are actually driving results?
Right.
Whether it's a subscription, a purchase, whatever their goal is.
Okay. So they can see kind of what's actually working. And then focus their efforts on that.
Exactly. And put their money where it matters.
Yeah. And did it work? Did they actually see results from this?
I mean, the numbers are pretty impressive.
Okay. So after they implemented enhanced conversions, their measured search conversions went up by 12%.
Wow.
And their YouTube conversions went up even more by 21%.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's a big jump. And I think, what that really shows is that there was this whole chunk of, successful campaigns that they just couldn't see before.
They were just invisible.
And that's dangerous because then you might be misallocating your budget.
Right.
Enhanced conversions gives them a much more accurate baseline.
Okay.
So they can make smarter decisions about where to invest their money.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I think we also have some insights from Norbert Pelkofer.
Yeah, he's the VP of Digital Channels at Sky, and wow.
Right.
And he had some really interesting things to say about this.
Yeah, what did he highlight?
Well, he really stressed how important it is to connect all the different systems within their organization.
Okay.
So, all the different data sources. And enhanced conversions allows them to do that, to collect that data and actually use it, but in a sustainable way.
Okay.
A way that respects data protection principles.
Right. That's huge these days. And he mentioned working with Google on this, right?
Yeah, they had a very collaborative approach, which I think is really interesting.
Okay.
So they did data audits. They really sat down with Google and talked about, okay, how are we handling data? Where are our servers located?
Okay.
All these things that really matter when it comes to, complying with privacy regulations.
Right. So it wasn't just like install it and forget about it.
Exactly. It was a real partnership.
Yeah. Okay. And so what about other, marketers out there who are kind of facing similar challenges?
He had some great advice. Prioritize the quality of your first-party data.
Okay.
Especially within the Google ecosystem, because that's what their algorithms are based on.
Right. That makes sense.
And involve all the relevant stakeholders early on. Data privacy teams, IT, your agencies, everybody needs to be on board from the beginning.
Right. It's a company-wide effort.
Exactly, for this to really work.
Okay. So that's a lot to think about there. But let's move on to our next deep dive.
Okay, sounds good.
This one is in the retail sector, and we're looking at REWE.
REWE.
The supermarket chain. And they're using a customer data platform built on Google Cloud to really personalize the shopping experience.
Yeah, and this is really taking it to the next level.
Yeah.
Imagine you walk into your favorite store and you get offers that are tailored just for you.
Yeah. Based on what you normally buy. And...
Exactly. What you like, what you need. It's very powerful.
Yeah. I'm definitely into that. And so how is REWE making that happen?
So they're using their app in a really smart way.
Okay.
And their goal, they want to be a leader in this whole localized, personalized offer communication.
Okay.
They want to create this seamless experience.
Okay.
Whether you're in the store, online, or in the app.
Oh.
And it really reflects their slogan, REWE, Dein Markt.
REWE.
Your market.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And the app is really the key here. It's become their main communication hub.
Okay.
They've even replaced their paper flyer with it.
Wow, that's a big change.
It is, and it makes a lot of sense, from a sustainability standpoint.
Right.
They're saving tons of paper, reducing their CO2 emissions, water usage, energy consumption, all of that.
Yeah, and I imagine it's also a lot more convenient for customers.
Exactly. You don't have to rifle through a paper flyer anymore. You have everything right there on your phone.
Yeah, and it can be updated instantly.
Exactly. So they can be much more dynamic with their offers.
Okay, so let's talk about this customer data platform, right? They call it Customer Cloud, I think.
Customer Cloud, yeah, that's their internal name for it.
Okay, so what is that in simple terms?
So think of it as a central brain.
Okay.
For all the information they have about their customers.
Okay.
It brings together all of their first-party data.
That's data that they collect directly from their customers.
Okay.
Through the app, their online shop, even in-store purchases if you use their loyalty card.
Right.
And it creates this 360-degree view of each customer.
Wow, that's a lot of data.
It is, but it allows them to really understand, okay, what does this customer like?
Right.
What do they need? What are they likely to buy?
Okay.
And then they use Google AI to analyze those insights and deliver those super personalized offers within the app.
That's pretty amazing. So I'm curious, to get people using the app in the first place.
You're right. That's the first hurdle.
How did REWE get people to actually download and use the app?
They had a very clever strategy. They used a multi-stage bidding strategy.
Okay.
And they were using Google's Zielgruppensignal beta tool, which
Right.
is really about identifying, who are the people most likely to actually use the app.
Right.
So first, they focused on incentivizing downloads.
Okay.
They were offering exclusive app coupons.
Okay, so a reward for downloading it.
Exactly. And then they used specific audience signals to target their most valuable customers.
Okay.
The people who are already spending a lot of money with them.
Makes sense.
And then they got even more specific. They started targeting customers based on how they were using the app.
So if they were looking at recipes, they would get...
Exactly. They'd get offers for ingredients.
Okay, wow, that's really smart.
Yeah, it's a very sophisticated approach.
And it seems like it worked.
It did. I mean, the app reached 1 million installations in 2023.
What?
And they got to the #1 spot in the Google Play Store.
That's huge.
It is. And they also saw a big jump in their weekly active app users.
Okay, so people weren't just downloading it, they were actually using it.
Exactly, which is the whole point.
Yeah, so similar to Sky, REWE is also very conscious of data privacy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They want to personalize the experience, but they also want to do it in a way that's trustworthy.
Right. Yeah.
They talk about creating a digital corner store feel. So, it's personal, it's customer oriented,
Right.
but it's also discreet. You don't feel like you're being spied on.
Okay.
And they really emphasize transparency.
Okay.
They adhere to all the, modern technical and legal standards for data handling.
Okay, so they're taking it seriously.
They're taking it very seriously, and they see Google as a key partner in this.
Okay.
Helping them maintain that trust with their customers.
Yeah, because once you lose that trust, it's hard to get it back.
Exactly. And Elke Wilgman, she's the Geschäftsleiterin free marketing.
Okay.
She described the app as like the REWE market in your pocket.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it. It's like having that personal connection,
Yeah.
but in a digital form.
Okay, so for our last deep dive, we're going to head over to the YouTube kitchen.
All right, let's see what's cooking.
Yeah, and explore the vision that CEO Neal Mohan has for the platform in 2025.
Okay, so looking ahead.
Yeah, he recently wrote this letter to the YouTube community, and it really gives us a glimpse into, where online video is going.
Yeah, it's a fascinating look into the future, and he starts off by calling YouTube the epicenter of culture.
Okay, a bold statement.
It is, but, when you think about it, YouTube has such a huge reach.
Right.
It influences trends, it creates community, so it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah, it's definitely a force to be reckoned with. And he gave some examples, right, like the 2024 election.
Yeah, the U.S. election in 2024, millions of people were turning to YouTube for information.
Wow.
And from a variety of sources, not just mainstream media.
Right, so it's really changing how people consume news.
Absolutely, it's become this central hub for information.
Yeah, and he also mentioned podcasts, right, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily think of YouTube as a podcast platform,
Okay.
but it's actually the leading platform for podcast consumption in the U.S.
Really?
Yeah, it's huge, and YouTube is really leaning into that. They're developing tools and monetization options specifically for podcasters.
So they're kind of embracing this convergence of video and audio content.
Absolutely. And it's not just about, the U.S. He also talked about YouTube's role in global cultural exchange.
Okay.
He gave some examples like Sarah Lazito. She's a French motorcycle stunt rider.
Okay.
And The Amazing Digital Circus, which is an Australian animated series.
Okay.
And both of them have gained international popularity through YouTube.
That's cool.
Yeah, it really shows how online content can transcend borders.
Yeah, it's breaking down those barriers. And he also made this interesting comparison. He called YouTubers the startups of Hollywood.
Yeah, I thought that was really insightful.
What do you think he meant by that?
Well, he's seeing this trend where creators are basically becoming their own mini studios.
Okay.
They're developing their own content, they're building their own audiences,
Right.
and they're doing it outside of the traditional Hollywood system.
Yeah.
He gave some examples. Alan Chicken Chow, Kaningra Dion, Mia Plays, and Kuman, they're all building their own businesses on YouTube.
Wow, so it's like they're bypassing the gatekeepers.
Exactly. They're creating their own paths to success.
And YouTube is supporting them in this, right?
Absolutely. They're providing tools and resources to help creators build their businesses.
Okay.
And they're expanding monetization options beyond just ads.
So, what are some of the ways that creators are making money now?
Well, there's things like integrated shopping recommendations.
Okay.
So, if you're watching a video about fashion, you might see links to buy the clothes.
Right.
And channel memberships, which have grown a lot by 40%.
Wow.
And there was this great example, Bora Claire. She made a 6-figure income from one video reviewing a cashmere cardigan.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it shows the potential that's there for creators.
Yeah, and so it's not just about entertainment anymore.
No, it's a real business.
Yeah, it's a career.
Yeah, and YouTube is also focused on creating more ways for creators to interact with their fans.
Right.
They're rolling out features like community and hype to more markets.
So they're really trying to build those communities.
Exactly. And then there's this whole idea of YouTube as the new TV.
Okay, so explain that one to me.
Well, people are watching a ton of YouTube on their TVs now.
Okay.
Over 1 billion hours of content every day globally.
Wow.
And in the US, TV is actually the primary device for YouTube.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a big shift, but it's not just about watching traditional videos on a bigger screen.
Okay.
It's this whole interactive experience.
Okay.
You have shorts, podcasts, live streams, all happening on YouTube.
Right, it's all converging.
Exactly, and YouTube is making it even more interactive.
Okay, how so?
They're adding things like second screen interactivity and live commentary.
Okay.
They're also seeing strong growth in their subscription services.
Like YouTube TV?
YouTube TV, YouTube Music and Premium.
Right.
They have over 100 million subscribers combined.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, so they're really becoming a major player in the streaming world.
Okay, so lastly, let's talk about AI, right? Artificial intelligence.
Yeah, this is a big one.
Yeah, what's Mohan's vision for how AI is going to shape YouTube?
Well, he sees AI as this really powerful tool to make YouTube better for everyone.
Okay.
For creators, for viewers, for the platform itself.
Okay.
And they're investing in a lot of AI-powered tools
Okay.
to support creators, things like Dream Screen, Dream Track.
Okay.
These are tools that can help creators generate backgrounds and music.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And they're also focusing on tools that can streamline everyday tasks, like coming up with video ideas, writing titles, creating thumbnails.
So taking care of all the kind of boring stuff.
Exactly, freeing up creators to focus on the creative side of things.
Yes, that makes sense.
But Mohan is also very aware of the potential downsides of AI.
Right, it's not all sunshine and roses.
Yeah. Exactly. So they're really committed to protecting creativity.
Okay.
And they're developing tools that will give individuals control over how AI represents them on the platform.
So, like, if you don't want your face to be used in an AI-generated video, you can opt out.
Exactly. You have that control.
Okay, that's good to know.
And they're also using AI to help creators reach wider audiences.
Okay, how so?
Automatic dubbing, over 40% of synced audio-video watch time is actually in a language different from the original.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that much.
Yeah, it's a huge opportunity, and YouTube is rolling out automatic translation to more creators in more languages.
So breaking down those language barriers.
Exactly, and of course protecting younger users is always the top priority.
Right, that's crucial.
So they're constantly working on improving YouTube Kids, supervised accounts, educational content.
Right.
And they're even using machine learning for more precise age estimations.
So they can make sure that kids are only seeing age-appropriate content.
Exactly. It's all about responsibility.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like Neal Mohan has a really comprehensive vision for the future of YouTube.
He does. It's exciting to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, absolutely. So to sum up, we've looked at how Sky is using Google AI to navigate data privacy while still measuring their marketing effectiveness.
Right.
REWE is creating these personalized shopping experiences.
Yeah.
And Neal Mohan has this really ambitious vision for YouTube.
So the question is, how might these trends, the sophisticated use of AI, the shift towards apps, the evolution of online video, how might that impact your industry?
Yeah, what's the secret ingredient that you need to be thinking about?
Exactly. What are the platform shifts that are going to be important for you?
And to really dig deeper into these topics, we encourage you to check out the full articles.
Yeah, they're linked in the Think with Google newsletter.
This has been a quick overview, but those articles will give you all the details.
Yeah, a lot more to explore there.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of Google innovation.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
And we'll catch you next time with more insights from the newsletter.
Looking forward to it.